Hello my family. So tonight we're going to spend time in the kitchen. I'm going to make up a recipe that is very versatile. It's actually versatile between low carb, all American, and can be basically the same for Mediterranean. Some may say it may be gourmet, but I'm going to show you how simple it really is, especially considered under Mediterranean. However, it is pork. That is the one time I told you we will do this once in a blue moon, maybe a pork once or twice a month. So tonight we are actually having pork chops, nice thick ones, and we're going to be stuffing them. And I am going to be putting on a coating, and here is where it becomes very unique, different, and versatile, which you will not see too much of. The old all-American shake and bake. Now we've all grown up to know that shake and bake came in this box. You put it in a bag, you shake up your pork chop or your chicken, and then you would bake it. But did you know that you can make it homemade? And did you know that you can make it homemade and low carb for a diabetic? That's where I'm going to come in today. So we're going to go to the kitchen, and this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to make our mix up for our shake and bake for the all-American, and then we're going to do it for the diabetic and low carb. I will tell you exactly how to store each one of them, and at the same time we are going to make our supper together for this evening. So let's go to the kitchen, y'all. I look forward to spending this evening with you. Let's have some fun. Okay, my family, so this morning I was going through the recipe on how to make the ordinary shake and bake for basically the all-American style. I started breaking it down and thinking, how can I convert this into low carb? Because I knew there was a way. Well, breaking it back to Papa G's basic low carb breading mix, I created the shake and bake for both. Or well, I didn't create the shake and bake original recipe. That was done that I had found on Pinterest. So I had the original, but I also converted it and made it low carb as well. So we're going to start with the low carb version first. The Papa G's original was with almond flour, pork rinds, and Parmesan cheese. And then it had some onion powder in it, and I think some garlic. Well, I'm going to convert this into a shake and bake. And so that's what we're going to do. Now, in his original recipe, he called for 80 grams of ground pork rinds. Now, I put this through a food processor and ground it up into a fine powder-like form, just like you see here. There's 80 grams of this. And frankly, from what I've measured it, 80 grams comes out to be about a cup of ground pork rinds. So that's what we're going to use here. I'm also going to use 1 cup of almond flour. We're going to put all of this in a bowl. Now, I am going to sift this almond flour because I do not want chunks all up in it. So I'm going to sift this and make sure that I get 1 cup's worth. I'm going to do it like I do my flour mix. And yes, we're making a good sized portion. We want to do this because we can put and store this up. And I will explain how we're going to do that, because you're going to only need so many. I have 4 thick pork chops that we're going to stuff and bread. So 2 of each. 1 is going to be made with the original, and then again I may decide to just do them all low carb, because I'm going to take a break from all the heavy stuff that I've done between the muffins and the pretzels, and I'm kind of doing low carb day today. So also some few things that I'm looking into is cakes in a mug. I love the fact that I could take in the evening, if I just want something sweet, within 90 minutes or 90 seconds I can have a cake in a mug. I am absolutely looking into that, and it's also made low carb for diabetics, keto, however you want to call it. I like the idea. I can get a quick, sweet, be done with it. I did try a lemon blueberry, and it was actually delicious. Although it missed something, but it could have been used with a low sugar or no sugar Cool Whip on top. So, I mean, that would have taken and enhanced it a bit. But it was actually quite good. So, I'm going to be looking into a few other things like that, including maybe a cheesecake. So now the next ingredient, which we are going to sift, also would be 1 cup of Parmesan cheese. Now, you can use any style. I am using an Italian style for this. It's a blend. You could use a Romano. You can just use plain Parmesan, whatever you choose to do. There is no rule, rhyme, or rule. Oh, there was exactly 1 cup left of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the whole thing. So again, I'm just going to put this in here and we're going to sift it. Of that one. I'm going to get some more of this. I'm going to check into Aldi's on that too. Along with a few other things. I've been going to the store lately and I'm being disturbed at some of the things that I'm seeing anymore. High prices, name brand only. Yeah, I went today. Do you know I couldn't even find risotto anywheres? Not a single risotto. Not even a pre-mix risotto. That's not normal, y'all. So, I'm going to start looking around. Alright, so, looks like this isn't going to break down too much, but it's enough that it broke down through there. Alright. So, here's our basic mix. Now comes the seasonings. I am going to use about a half a tablespoon of onion powder into this. Now this is the homemade version, so mine has a bit more enhanced flavors than what you would at a grocery store, but there's nothing wrong with that. You can absolutely use that. I need a half a tablespoon of paprika. Now this is where it's being converted from the original recipe when it comes to the seasonings. I need a half a tablespoon of celery seed. And of course, I will be putting the recipe in the description for y'all, like I always do. And because we have Parmesan in this, unlike the original recipe, this one has Parmesan, so that means it has salt. You can omit the salt if you choose to make this less, or you can decrease the amount. Considering this is about a teaspoon of salt, so I'll probably go a half a teaspoon, and I'm using Himalayan because I do have a lot of Parmesan in here. I need a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Again, I am using my enhanced garlic powder. Calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of minced onions. That's not necessary. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and amp up my onion mix a little for that, because this kind of has granulated in it anyways, even though it's a powdered form. And then I need a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I'm using fresh ground. And I need a pinch each of parsley, oregano, and basil. So I've got, let's see here. We have our oregano, basil, and then we just need to get our parsley. And I will be right back with you. Okay, y'all, so here we go. We've got our oregano. Just going to take that pinch in here. Our pinch of parsley. Again, this is fresh, so these are enhanced, more flavors than normal. And then our basil. And this is it. That is our shake and bake. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to mix this all together very well. Probably going to go get a whisk, because I think it will mix this up a lot better. And if you can see this already, let's see if we can get this closer, how the coloring and all is starting to look like the shake and bake you would get from the store. Honestly, it's hard to see these with the lighting of the camera, but it's got a tannish color. It smells just like the original shake and bake, only this is the low carb version, y'all. This is one very, very safe for a diabetic. My husband and I have used this quite often. Never the shake and bake side of adding the seasonings like we do, but from the basic original, and he loves it. Now, using that basic, I just vamped it up a bit, is all I did, by adding flavor. So, this is our shake and bake. Now, how would I store this? Well, considering when you open up Parmesan cheese, it's best to refrigerate it. So I take mine and it lasts quite a bit in my freezer. So I will take a freezer Ziploc. Now I'm going to add the rest, because this is the rest of my mix from last batch I had. Yeah, this is what's left of my last batch. So I'm just going to go ahead and put these together. And I'm going to take and freeze this batch. So this is one way it'll last longer. Use only what you need, and that is it. And when you get low, make you up another batch of it, and voila, you have shake and bake. You can use this for chicken. You can use this for, honestly, you can use this for fried green tomatoes, or your yellow squash. You can use this for pork chops. There's so many different ways you can use this mix. So again, it will be in the description. I'm going to go ahead and get this put up, and then we're going to go with the original recipe on how to make the original shake and bake. Okay, y'all, so we had just got through doing the low carb version, so now we're going to go with the original recipe of using shake and bake for the all-around American, Mediterranean, however you want to use this. So this one first starts out with 2 cups of dried breadcrumbs. This can be any type of breadcrumbs you want. I am using plain. I have used the Italian if you wanted to. So this just needs 2 cups worth of this. And I am going to have to get more. So I'll be right back. I thought I had more in here. Okie doke. I'm going to use I did have some that are open that are also Italian, so I'm just going to finish it off. It wasn't that much. I'm just going to mix that in there. It ain't going to hurt it. Like I said, you can use any type that you choose. So this one requires just breadcrumbs. Now we're going to use a half a tablespoon of salt. Just like basically the other one, these are now just the mix that goes in it. I'm using Himalayan. I'm going to use a half a tablespoon of paprika. This one does become different, and I will tell you at the end how this one will work versus the low carb. I need a half a tablespoon of celery seed, just like the other thing. A half a teaspoon of black pepper. We are going to be using the grinder 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now, I am actually going to take this to a 1/2 teaspoon because I do not have the minced garlic, which would be a 1/2 teaspoon to that. So instead, I'm actually going to take, because there's a 1/4 teaspoon of granulated, or 1/2 teaspoon of granulated, a 1/4 teaspoon of powder. So I'm going to take 1 full teaspoon of garlic powder to add to this. And it calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of minced onion. I am just going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of the powder version. Again, we're going to use a pinch of oregano, a pinch of basil, and a pinch of parsley. And that's going to be it. Now we're going to mix this all together. I'm going to blend this up really well. Get all these seasonings mixed in together. Again, smells just like shake and bake with all the seasonings in it. And you're looking at, we've got a big quantity again, to which absolutely we do. This is making seasonings in bulk, like a lot of things that we do. Only with this one, you can actually store it on your shelf because it's really dry ingredients and breadcrumbs. So this can be stored, and I've already got some stored up in a container. So I'm just going to open this container. I'm going to add this to it. And you can put this on your shelf and use it when needed or when you would like. So this stores up and you are ready to go. Grab what you need. You start getting low, make another batch. So you just saved your money basically making up your own shake and bake. You know what's in here. The preservatives are not in this. There's no caking agents, nothing like that in your mix. It's just your own homemade shake and bake. So we are going to be using this to make our dinner tonight, both the low carb or maybe just low carb, but I do have this for when I need it, for when I would like it for myself. So I may just go ahead and do the low carb with my husband tonight. We are going to be making a stuffed thick pork chops with mozzarella cheese, baby spinach, and sun-dried tomatoes. We are going to be making a side. We're doing a complete meal, y'all. I'm doing a side of fresh green beans sauteed in olive oil with some garlic, and then I am going to be having a side with the home canned herb potatoes, while my husband has a side of boiled turnips that will be seasoned. So this is going to be our meal, and I figured I'd go ahead and make a low carb, beautiful version, Mediterranean style meal with you, show you how simple this really is. So let me get this all cleaned up and we will get started. Okay, y'all, so what we have here are beautiful, nice, thick pork chops. We got about 2 pounds worth from Aldi's for about $7.35. It is actually beautiful cuts. There were 4 equaling nearly 2 pounds. Now what I'm doing here is just taking and butterflying them, kind of. I'm forming a pocket because in the pockets we're going to stuff this. So I just went through and formed out my pockets and then set these aside. We're going to take and stuff these with some beautiful mix, and we, at this point, we'll be back to show you how to do that. I'm going to just go ahead and make sure that I have all my cuts through here nice and neat, clean up my station, and then we are going to get started on filling these and then getting these in the oven. I'm about to preheat the oven for 350 degrees. So with that, we shall be right back while we get this prepared. Okay, y'all, so we are going to begin by stuffing these. Do you remember a while back I had done those cherry tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes? Well, we are actually going to use them. This is our homemade version. Then we are using very fresh, creamy mozzarella that I find from the deli department. I don't know what store you would find yours, but we use that. Or you can use like the little pearl onions, or pearl mozzarella. And then we have very clean, fresh spinach, stems removed. So that's all we're going to do this with. We're going to start with lining the inside of our pork chops with our sun-dried tomatoes. You are welcome to use any type that you choose. I use the ones with the olive oil in it to kind of put that flavor, because pork can tend to dry out, so I'm going to sprinkle some olive oil in mine. Now I'm going to make a bed of spinach on top of this and lay that in here. Let me go ahead and take care of this situation, y'all. The grandkids are about to come in the door and I do not want to be disturbed, so we shall be right back. Okay, and now that we've got our sun-dried tomatoes, we have our layer of spinach, and now we're going to take and break up some pieces of our fresh mozzarella in here. Look how beautiful that looks, y'all. It looks absolutely gorgeous. So, and this cheese is going to melt in here with it. So, and your preference, you add as much as you want. There's really no specific amount. This depends on the size of your pork chop. Now I'm going to take mine and encase it in the center like so. That's why I don't want to overstuff it, because I'm going to seal this and use it as breading on the outside. So I'm going to kind of mash this down a little bit. I am going to secure it with a toothpick like so. And now it's ready to be breaded, and I will be on to my next one. So we're just making a pocket, a stuffed beautiful pork chop that's going to be oven baked with shake and bake low carb breading mix. So I'm going to go here and finish the rest of our little pockets up, and we will be back. Y'all, I am so looking forward to this meal. It's looking like it's going to be amazing. Okay, y'all, while I had this out, I happened to notice there's something I can try to show you. And a recent video, I had talked about cutting against the grain, and some of you asked if I would be more specific on how to do that. If you will look at any cut of meat, now it's going to be hard to see on this camera, but this grain of meat, if you look at the grains and the ways that it runs up and down like this, straight up and down from the bottom up. So if I wanted to cut this where I could get a nice tender cut where the meat would actually kind of come apart, so far it is so hard to see, but if the meat would come apart from the grain a little bit, instead of cutting this meat where it goes in the same direction of the up and down grade, I want to cut against that. So I'm going to come across this way and cut it instead of across the same way the grain is, cutting against the grain. And when I do that, I will get a very tender cut where the meat literally kind of tenderizes itself away from each other like so. So I'm hoping I described that. One day I will take a cut of meat and show you all better on how to do this. But I thought I'd try to explain that to you, because I noticed these are going to be very tender cuts the way they were cut from the butcher. So I tried to explain that the best I can. Now I'm going to prepare this for our breading. Again, I am going to be using the low carb breading on all of these. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set up for our breading station and show you how we do this. Okay, my family, so let's do this. We are going to be using 2 farm fresh eggs. And then I'm going to whisk these together. Whisk this up really good and beat my eggs. And now, if you are going to use the shake and bake original mix instead of the low carb, you absolutely could. The only difference between the original and the shake and bake that is low carb, the original calls for, if you were to use the whole entire recipe, that is, it calls for 3.5 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Now, here is what I'm going to say and what I have done. You can choose to do so or you can omit it. It doesn't matter. If you do so, you do not have to use the entire package. Go with 1/2 teaspoon of oil at a time. I do not use vegetable oil. My preference is olive oil. You could choose to use coconut oil. It doesn't matter what kind of oil you use. Whatever your heart's content and desire, you can add that just to add the moisture, or you can choose to do like I'm doing, use an egg coating. So I am using the low carb. I'm not using the original, although I could. So we're going to do this. Now I am noticing, we have been doing some testing with my husband, and in his heartbrokenness with them putting him back on diabetic meds due to his heart condition, we have been doing a little bit of testing here and there. The other night we gave him a small amount of the roasted sweet potatoes, and surprisingly his blood sugar did not reach higher than 129. We are not happy with that, but it was a lot less than we expected. We did a coating with regular breadcrumbs on a specific item he did not get a whole lot of, and he didn't reach 120. So in a good way this works, but in a bad way it's because he got put on medication that we had him off, completely off of it. But we know that what we're doing, we're still sticking with the low carb. He wants to stick with the low carb. He doesn't want to get too adventurous in this, because eventually it's going to come to a point we're going to hit heads with this doctor, because we cannot afford $800 a month just for the diabetic medication. So we're sticking with this. We're doing low carbs. So now I'm going to take my stuffed pork chop, and we're going to dip this into the egg mixture. Coat this pork chop with egg nicely. And then we're going to bring it on over, drip this off, on over to the breading mix. And we're going to take this and make sure you coat this pork chop all the way around, nice and even. Flip this over so we can get this side, and like I said, we're going to pat it down just like you would, and you can use a bag if you wanted to. I'm just going to coat it like this. It's a lot easier for me, and I don't have to waste a bag. So now I'm going to take and shake off the excess. Now, to make sure that I get this cooked all the way through and all the way around, I have a aluminum foil lined baking sheet, and I have a rack where I can place my pork chop on top, and it can cook underneath and on the top. Shake up my mix a little bit. Now notice I've only used a little at a time. I don't want to overdo it and waste my ingredients. So again, I'm going to take and coat my pork chop in my mix. Then these are stuffed and secured with our toothpicks. Put this over in our breading. Shake that around. Bring this through and coat this little bad boy. Oh, he's going to love this, y'all. And honestly, it does not taste like low carb. I would never have imagined when we first did these. Now, we didn't do them stuffed, mind you. But when we first did the coating like we are for pork chops that were low carb, they were absolutely fantastic. We could not even tell the difference between breadcrumbs and this. It worked extremely well. And I'm thinking, you know, with the Parmesan cheese and all that, the way it binds together, that it made a perfect union. So it was just a lovely breading. So you can have your breading back on your pork chops if you like your breaded like we do. Now I do tend to want to bake mine, but you can fry this in a frying pan if you wanted to. You can use your air fryer if you wanted to. You do not have to bake it. And that's what's nice about these recipes. It's your choice. Your kitchen, you do what you love to do. But it's versatile that way. And that's the meals I like to do. I like to do meals that are versatile, that everybody can enjoy any way they like to. And yes, it looks like a gourmet meal because, well, we got spinach and tomatoes, and here's sun-dried tomatoes, and we got mozzarella. But it's really not. It's a very pleasant, nice, elegant, simple meal. So now we do have some more that we need to add. So get these rinsed off. I'm going to add just a little bit of coating, but this time I'm going to do it differently. So I'm actually going to stick this in my egg mix. Coat this really well, and then clear off the excess. This is not wanting to work with me. It's too thick is what it is. Now I'm going to take this because I want to gather up what particles I actually have in here without wasting any, and then I'm going to sprinkle some of this on top. That way I'm not wasting. Hold in my hand. Now I'm going to spread this around, taking the excess, but while the excess is being shaken off, I'm also using it. So as you can see how you can save without wasting. I am learning. I don't want to do a lot of wasting anymore these days. It's not because I have to, y'all. I really want to. I want to learn how to waste less. Things cost too much to waste. And though, I mean, we live in a throwaway fast food life, it seems, I want to step away from that. I like the old-fashioned way of living. This is who I am. It's what I enjoy. And that's why you see me doing the things that I do here. Alright, so now we are coated. All 4 of our beautiful pork chops are ready to go. I'm going to clean this up, and we're going to come to the next step. So, and I decided to go ahead and do a complete meal with you all because I have really not done that, and I've noticed. Let me go ahead and get this cleaned up, and then we'll talk for a minute. Okay, my lovely family, so we have the pork chops in the oven and we're getting them baking. The reason I decided to do a complete full meal with you tonight is I don't know how many of you have felt the same way I have. I will be in a specific area such as a Mediterranean lifestyle. I will see some most amazing entrees, a beautiful dish using chicken thighs, or I will see something with a nice roast in the All-American, or I will see something in the low-carb meals, but all of it has the same thing in common. There is one specific main, but there are no sides. There's nothing to compare with it. So my question always turns out is, what pairs well with a meal like this, and how do I go ahead incorporating that? So I decided to, based by everything that I've seen, and it seems to be the general idea in everywhere we go, I decided to be the different again, and decided to go ahead and start doing complete meals. Now, tonight's meal is, like I said, it is very versatile. It could be straight up keto. It could be straight up low carb. It could be straight up Mediterranean. So here is what I am going to do. I am doing this in a low carb way. However, I'm also speaking in ways that you can do this versatilely. Now, the green beans, for instance, we are using fresh green beans, not canned, and I am going to be sauteing them in garlic. Now, here's where it can change. If you choose to do it the low carb way, you can add bacon grease, with your green beans and with your garlic. You could choose to do that in a keto way as well. If you eat green beans, you may choose not to eat a green bean. You may choose to do something different. So, but the low carb you would do with the green beans and probably use either butter or you could use bacon grease. The way I'm going to do it would be the Mediterranean way, and I'm going to be using olive oil. I'm going to choose to do the less fat and the better flavor for me, Mediterranean style. Now the potatoes, we are doing it a bit differently for me and my husband, basically because my husband, his blood sugar does not like potatoes. So I will be doing a turnip with him, and I will be adding butter for his. Now for mine, I am going to be doing the herb potatoes that we had canned, and I'm probably going to roast them, or I may go ahead and fry them up in olive oil in with the pan that I am going to be doing my green beans. I haven't decided, but either way it goes, I'm probably going to saute them up in a small frying pan, and I'll show you how to do that. So that's the reason I decided to go ahead and start doing complete meals. So that's the bottom line to this explanation is I see too many of one specific areas, either an entree, a side, a salad, but I never see complete meals. I am going to do my best to concentrate on complete meals for you. So with that, let's go back to the kitchen and finish our meal. Since upgrading these phones, by the way, too, I decided to keep my old, since we were keeping my old phone anyways, it was refundable, whatever you want to call it. I couldn't even use it as a trade-off, so I kept it. But it still works. So what I'm going to use this phone for is strictly, basically, I am going to keep it for making videos. It did absolutely wonderful for videos. And as long as it works using my Wi-Fi, I think that's what I'm going to keep this one for. So I noticed yesterday and the day before that, my old phone, there's just too much on it already. I don't get it. I just don't get these phones. So I find it was cutting my videos. So this time I'm going to just use this one. I can keep my videos running and not having to split it because Filmora is not a good editor. I don't like it. So we're going to stick with what works. So our green beans. I am using just small, long green beans such as these. We're going to take and make sure our ends are cleaned and trimmed, and then we're going to probably break these in half. So let me go ahead and do a couple of these, and I'm going to show you where we're going from here. Let's see if I can find my little knife. Yeah, here we go. So I'm just going to trim my ends off, and I'm just going to break just like this in half. I don't want them too small. You can choose to leave these long and whole if you wanted to as well. For the most part, if they're not too bad, that's exactly what I do. So I'm just going to use this whole entire bowl. Now see, this one here, I don't want it too small, so I'm probably going to leave it whole. I just want a nice side of green beans that we will mix with our pork chops. It's going to be a beautiful, lovely dish, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the rest of these beans, and once I get that done, I will be back with you and show you what we're going to do next with these. Okay, y'all, so on these green beans, now there are times I will add some onion to this. I'm not going to do it this round, but I'm going to take a couple tablespoons of olive oil. You could choose olive oil, you could choose ghee. I have been known, which I'm going to add partly of that as well. I'm using about a tablespoon of, well, what's left of my olive oil, and then I'm going to add about a half a tablespoon of ghee to this. This way it gives it a kind of a buttery flavor, yet two healthy fats. So I'm going to add my ghee to this as well. I'm going to have to make some more of, y'all. We do definitely go through the ghee. That's no doubt. So now I'm going to get this melted down some. Go ahead and melt this down a little bit. And then I'm going to throw in some of that, I have some minced garlic that I'm going to add to this as well. Just so that we just get that scent of garlic in here without browning it too much. We're going to do this basically low and slow, because we're not actually cooking these green beans. They will have a firmness to them. They will still have a crunch. We're just going to bring out the green to it and just add some flavor. Sauteing. We're not actually boiling these down, cooking these down like you would from a can. We're just, like I said, they're going to have a nice crisp. We're just going to saute them. So now I can smell that aroma of our garlic. So now I'm just going to drop in my green beans a little bit. I'm going to sprinkle this and drop this down in my temp. Sprinkle some Himalayan sea salt over the top of my green beans. And then I'm just going to mix all this up and saute it together just until I get a nice, dark, beautiful color. Now I'm going to heat them all the way through. And that's it, y'all. It's just that simple. This is a beautiful Mediterranean side. It looks like it might be an elegant type of thing, but it's not. It's super simple with an elegant flair to a dish. This is what Mediterranean is. It's not gourmet at all. It just looks it. Because basically it's a lifestyle that we don't see much of. So it does look gourmet. But it's super simple, y'all. How easy was that? Just to heat up some oil or some ghee, add some garlic. You can add some minced onion to this, or sliced if you want to, and then throw in some green beans and just saute it up. So I'm going to go ahead and finish sauteing these, and in the meantime we're going to prepare our potatoes and our turnips, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. Okay, y'all, so and like usual, sometimes I'll start something and then woof, change of plans, I change something. So I am going to change my husband's side. Instead of having turnips, he's actually going to have some fried, because I'm going to saute these potatoes up. This is the herb potatoes that we canned. I had that general rule. I take and boil anything that I can for 10 minutes. That is including meat. I will cook it for 10 minutes before I do anything else. So I'm going to cook these. But in the meantime, I'm going to change my husband's turnips, and we are going to actually make him sauteed or fried radishes that will taste like a fried potato to go with his pork chop. I am going to be frying these up in olive oil and about a tablespoon of butter. That butter is going to give that flavor to his radishes that will represent more of a potato than without it, basically. Alright, so I'm going to just take these radishes now. I have cleaned these. I'm cutting out the ends, and now I'm going to slice them just like you would any other fried potato, if you can see what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to slice these up, and we are going to just fry them up. I just got a text from hubby. That's what's nice too, using this phone. When he texts me, I can now respond to him and not have to be disrupted on our videos. So he let me know he is on his way home, so this is perfect timing, y'all. So we are going to just keep slicing these up until I get a good enough amount that we have a nice side for his pork chop. And then at that point we will be back and we will work on these potatoes. In the meantime, I'm going to check on our pork chops. Okay, y'all, so that jar of herbed potatoes, we have cooked them. Now to show you how well these do, you can literally slice these, and these were the ones that were canned. These were these herbed red potatoes. That's the reason why I like using these red potatoes for this. You can use this in frying them up. You can use this for making potato salad in this. You can use this for dicing them up and frying them, however you want to do that. So, and I am actually going to fry these up for supper tonight. So I'm going to add this to olive oil and some butter. I'm just going to saute these up a little bit just to get a golden crust on it, and that's going to be all. In the meantime, I'm over here sauteing and cooking up our radishes, and so the next time that we come back, it will be to finish our presentation of our meal, and that will be it. So I'm just going to continue to keep doing everything that I'm doing here, and we will see you back at the final. And right there, y'all, is how we finish a Mediterranean low-carb pork chop meal. We have our sauteed green beans that we had done earlier with garlic and butter and olive oil. We have sauteed radishes that has been with olive oil and ghee. And then we have our cheese, spinach, and tomato, sun-dried tomato stuffed pork chops with the low-carb breading, the shake and bake breading. That is a beautiful meal. It's simple as that. That is an elegant. It can be simple. It really didn't take all that much to do this. So I hope you enjoy this. I am going to be having the herbed red potatoes, which I will show you right quick what those look like over here. So I'm going to be eating these instead of the radishes. I will definitely be canning these little red potatoes again for this winter. There is no doubt. I will find a good deal on red potatoes, and I do plan on canning some more. So I will go ahead and give you all the recipe in the description box below, as always, for the shake and bake. I will give you the basic ingredients to make this dish, and I sincerely hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, much love. Hubby came home from work. It is time to eat on the homestead. We'll see you until next time. Much love from Parton's Heritage Homestead.